Welcome back to Yellow Card TCG. Once again, it's me, Toku, and this is going to be the third installment of the Mega Deck feature. So, the first video had the opening and the card by card. The second video had basically a deck you can make with just the Mega Decks. And in this third video, I'll be showcasing the Mega Deck as well as some extra cards you don't get in the Mega Deck. In mine, I'm only playing 5 extra ones, just because of how strong the Mega Deck is. I basically replaced the weakest Demon God with an extra copy of Brahms of 5, so actually between these two, you can get 2 turns of Summon Locks. I also play a pair of really strong bombs for both the mirror match as well as other matches where, let's just go into the card by card first to start. We're running 3 copies of the Contract Javad, 3 copies of Bird Oil, 3 copies of the Tower's Nexus, and 3 copies of Nouvelle Vogue. These cards right here, this is our early game engine. A lot of people might be wondering why I'm playing 3 of the Contract. 2 copies of an extra Javad is better than any copies of that shitty Demon Lord. I don't even care to remember its name. Basically the retrain of Ili Merzio. That card sucks. We're running 3 Magma Zappers, 3 of the Advent Lord Javad, 3 Ventouse. This is the bread and butter of the deck. We're obviously going to run 3. 3 Brahms of 5, as stated before in the pre-constructed deck. 3 copies is fine because it's double symbol. The anti-attack step end is very important. And we are going to run 3 evil draws. Then, in our off engine, we only have 3 copies of Seryubi and 2 of Gaia no Hoko. Gaia no Hoko and Seryubi, you do have enough draw that running these at not maxed out numbers is fine. I thought it would be better to max it on the Seryubi than Gaia no Hoko because we do have plenty of green ultimates to maintain the condition for Seryubi. And Gaia no Hoko pairs best on certain ultimates. I like it a lot on Lord Javad to make it a double symbol refresher, or you can just put it on the Brahms of 5 to make it a one-shot 3 symbol attacker. Then we have our defensive, just the 3 burst walls. Now we're going to go into our newer cards. This is Brahmzan. This is the pre-train of Brahms of 5. Similarly, it has an effect to summon lock until the end of your turn. However, his cost is a soul drive. So you gotta banish the soul core from it when you attack to lock your opponent from summoning for the turn. So between these two, you can get 2 consecutive turns of summon locking. And with how aggressive this deck is, within 2 turns of your opponent not being able to summon spirits, you should be able to get in for game. Just the 1 copy because soul drive is effectively once per game. And the reason why I was okay with soul drive is because you can Advent Lord Zavad that you open with Ventouse. So I thought it was okay. You know what? A 1 of 2 extra lock up my opponent for 1 extra turn. I think that is worth it. Here we have Siegfried Rudra, which says on Advent, stack it onto a cost 5 spirit or ultimate. Despite itself not being an ultimate, you can stack it onto any other ultimates in your deck to be able to do a really strong board wipe. This one says, from 5 of your opponent's spirits and ultimates, so good in the mirror match, core shoot 3 cores from each of them. So 3 cores is a very strong magic number, especially in the mirror match. Seryubi is level 4 at 3 cores. Brahms of 5 gets its anti-attack step end at 3 cores. And there's just a bunch of other 3-core stuff that your opponent will always tend to spread their board wide at 3-3-3-3-3, where Siegfried Rudra would be able to just go in for game. Disaster Beast, Dest Z's. This card, when you would summon it, for every 1 of your costs, its cost is -2. Now, if you've seen how the deck plays, this deck brings up cost very quickly, so being able to summon Destis out on turn 2 for free is definitely possible. It's a 12 cost for goodness sake. Then, it's on summon effect. For every 1 of your costs, normally you're sitting at 8, 10, 12, you bot deck 1 of your opponent's spirits or ultimates for the mirror match, and this effect cannot be prevented by armor effects. So, right now there's a variety of different protections, but armor is the most common protection type of effect. And Destis is able to just, any kind of problem like big board that you have to deal with, Armored Dragons, Gundam Seed, Strike Seagworm, you can just slam on the Destis turn 2 and just make their board disappear. In other matchups where armor isn't really the thing, and it'll be like Spirit Nexus Protection, your rest of the entire deck will be able to deal with that because these are ultimates. Then, at level 2 and 3, during your attack step, all of your primal cost 8 or more spirits cannot be blocked. It itself is a primal. It is more than 8 cost. Between these two, you should find a very clear way to go for game. But that's that. That is the deck commentary. You guys already know how the deck should play by now, seeing the second video. So let's go ahead and watch some gameplay vids. Right, first game, it is me on the left playing the Javad contract deck versus on the right, the Shark contract deck. So both of these decks right now are looking to be one of the better decks in the format, especially Shark being one of the strongest early contract decks with one of the strongest hand taxes as well as attack step ending prevention. I'm going to start off paying 3 costs for the Nexus, and my opponent is going to core step, draw step, refresh step, and for 2 costs slam down the Shark. So at this point, I'm okay with doing the Nexus as a turn 1 play rather than the Javad, because even if I wanted to flash timing to pay a core to pop something, I wouldn't have the cores to maintain it. But with the Nexus, I can go ahead and get that out on the board, get that extra symbol maintained, have an extra life that my opponent will give to me just because of the way that most contract decks play. Will put out their contract early to swing early to gain their count, to do, especially in Shark's in circumstances, to draw 2, discard 1. Passing it over to my turn is going to be a core step, draw step, refresh step. And with my 1 symbol on the board, I'm going to go ahead and summon Burgoyle. I'm going to use Burgoyle's effect here rather than to gain a core to actually remove the Shark from the board. I put my opponent on the fact that he needs to have an extra copy of Shark in hand to be able to maintain playing or have a way of adventing into it. Shark being a deck that does draw a lot, probably does have it, but I would much rather ask my opponent to present it rather than give it to my opponent, if that makes sense. I'm going to use Burgoyle's second effect to rip 2 cores from itself as well in conjunction with the Nexus to gain a count, as well as boost to the Burgoyle, letting me get to that stage where I can get that extra core. And then on flash time, I'm going to use Javad's skill to pay 1 core to attempt to shoot 2, but regardless, because one of my Demon Lord effects cost me to move a core, I got to gain 2 counts and draw 1. Same here. Going into my second attack, I'm going to attack with Javad, use the Nexus skill to gain a count, and we're going to pass it into flash timing. No flash timing, my opponent takes 2 damage, and we're going to go ahead and end on that. Core step, refresh step, draw step for the Shark player, and what are they going to present this turn? So, first thing that they're going to start off with is going to be paying 3 costs for the Volcanic Beach. Beach is going to be able to plus their count for 2. And if they had 7 in a count or more, they'd be able to get the Soul Core back, but at this point, that's not really important. They're going to slam down an Eno Racer. So Eno Racer is draw 2, drop 2, but if you have Shark on the board at the moment, it would be discard 1 instead. So even more reason for me to have destroyed the Shark instead of going for the extra core boost. Now, however, my opponent is really good, and a recently limited card on the ban list, he is going to be able to advent into the Antler Sea Slug. Antler Sea Slug on advent skill is going to be able to gain a core onto one of the Blue Wave Nexuses, and because it is the main step, get the Soul Core back, which means that he'll be able to continue adventing. Not done playing the turn yet, we're going to activate Stream Draw to draw 3 and discard 2. Luckily, we are playing Ultimates and not Spirits, so Stream Draw will not be able to destroy anything. But now that that's all done, we're going to go ahead and go into attack steps, and I believe we're going to start off with the Antler Sea Slug attack, use its skill to gain a core onto one of our Blue Wave Nexuses, as well as the pre-advent skill of Shark to be able to draw 2, discard 1. And then not to mention, Antler Sea Slug for some reason has the overcount effect to be able to refresh, meaning once you've advented onto the Shark, you'd be able to swing twice, gain a bunch of count, and keep playing off of that. So passing over to my flash timing now, I'm going to flash and self-deplete my Burgoyle to deplete the Antler Sea Slug, get it off the board before it's able to swing again on the Shark, gain an extra 2, gain another filter. Passing the flash to my opponent, and they are going to advent straight into Gabaru Shark. Gabaru Shark now, with the overcount effect, has a hand tax on me, so every time I want to use something from hand, I have to pay an extra cost associated to how much count he has. He's going to attack with the Gabaru Shark and use the pre-advent skill to gain 2 count, to draw 2, and drop 1. If you discard an Azure Wave, I can't activate Spirit effects from my Burst, but that's okay, I don't have any Burst set. I don't even play Burst in this deck except for the Burst Wall. That destroys Spirit's ultimates as well, though, so that's something cool that this deck can do. I'm going to take 2 life from the double symbol that the Gabaru Shark has, and then immediately without paying the cost, because I lost life, Burst Wall can activate from hand to end the attack step. I'm going to go ahead and take it to my turn now, and because my count is over 6, this comes up for free, and I'm able to once again wipe my opponent's board, send that stuff all to the bottom of the deck, and I'm going to go ahead and try and get in for game here. I've been given a lot of cores due to the Gabaru Shack attack for 2, so I'm going to pay that hard 6 to hard summon that Ventus from hand. Now with this all set up, I need to make sure that my opponent can no longer play the game on their turn. They wouldn't be able to advent on my turn because their soul core is out of play, but I want to make sure they cannot summon anything to advent on into or draw into advents on their turn. So I'm going to try and find my Brahms Fog here. Attacking with the Ventus, getting 2 cores, and getting a count. I find the Brahms Fog, which was in my hand already, to be honest. And just in case to play around any 0 counters, I'm going to actually slam both of them down. And to make sure that they're both at level 3, I'm going to move all my cores around to make sure that they're both at 3. My opponent did reveal the 0 counter just a bit too early. So now I'm able to know that they do have the 0 counter and redistribute my cores in a respectable manner. That makes it harder to play around. Now, thinking back on it, I did move my cores around in a weird way, and I'm thinking that I probably should have put the soul core on the Javad that was on the board, because that way both of these Brahms Fogs would still be level 3 even if I wanted to advent. And I think it's because I had my hand covering the soul state Javad that I completely forgot about it. But alas, I do have 3 symbols on the board, and my opponent only has 3 life left, and not enough cores to be able to pay for the zeros barrier to end the attack step. So I'm going to go ahead and swing in with Javad here, passing up the flashes, and there is no flash here, so my opponent's going to take 1. And continuing on the attack, my opponent cannot attack and the attack step, even if they had the burst wall. And I'm just going to get in for that last 2 damage with the Brahms Fog swing. This is why we play 3 copies, everybody. So that's going to be the end of the first game against Blue Contract, Shark Contract. And I was actually discussing that, like, even if I was to advent, this dangerous part that because I advented, I would not be level 3 and my opponent could end it. Now, going into game 2, we are going to be in the mirror match. It is going to be Javad versus Javad, and this is where our techs shine up huge. My opponent is going to start with the 4 Towers Nexus and pass on that. It's such a good play that I might do the same thing. I'm also going to play... Oh, nope. I'm going to play Burgoyle first. Burgoyle to gain the core, and then I'm going to go ahead and use that extra core that I got to be able to fully pay for the Nexus. Now Burgoyle is going to swing, and I'm going to use the Nexus effects to gain a count and give a core to the Burgoyle. Unfortunately, do not have the 3 cores required to use its second skill to core rip 2 for myself to gain a core back. With that, no other attackers to do, so I'm going to pass the turn to my opponent, who also enjoyed my play so much that they're going to copy it this time with that extra core from going an extra turn, and with that extra core from losing a life, allowing them to do that full play that I really love about this deck. They're going to also summon the Javad and go into attack step using the Burgoyle and the Nexus in conjunction to gain 1 count, gain 1 core, and use the Burgoyle's effect to gain a core, use the second effect to rip 2 cores, gain a core again, but this time putting it onto the Javad. Passing flashes to me. I don't have a flash because I don't have my Javad out on the board yet, but they're going to go ahead and flash and self-deplete the Burgoyle to deplete my Burgoyle, gaining the extra 2 counts and drawing there. And then with no attacker left to deal the damage, I'm going to go to the next attack, swinging with the Javad, gaining a count, and hitting me for 1 and passing on that. I take my turn, core step, draw step, refresh step, and immediately to counteract my opponent's strong turn, I'm going to go ahead and summon my own Contract Javad now. And with that, nothing else in my hand, to be honest, so I believe I went straight into attack to gain the count, also gaining a core. I probably should have gone for the draw there. It looks like I have plenty of cores. I should have probably digged for some better cards, but they're going to pass flash, and I'm going to use that opportunity to immediately deplete the Javad, and my opponent's going to have nothing left to do with that. So 1 damage, and we're going to pass. Very friendly, very vanilla game of mirror match going on there. My opponent is going to use Evil Draw. It's going to cost 3. Drawing 2, paying that 1 extra, drawing 2, and then paying 1 extra then to recycle the Burgoyle from the trash because it is a Jashin trait. Now with that, because the Evil Draw effect is a Jashin as well, Javad is going to be able to gain 2 counts, and we're going to summon the Burgoyle here, gaining the core and going into attack step. Burgoyle is going to use its effect in conjunction with the Nexus to choosing to draw 1 instead this time. also going to be core ripping 2 to gain that core. And in my flash timing, I'm going to go ahead and use a Javad to pay 1, shoot 2, gain 2 counts, and draw. And what does my opponent have? So at this point, I know that Burgo is a green ultimate. I don't want him to get the ultimate Seryubi, so I'm going to Advent here on Advent, because moving Soul Core is an effect of a Jashin card. I am going to be able to draw 2, count +2, draw 1, and then discard 1, draw 2. Because I discarded a Jashin card, I am going to be able to move 2 cores from the field, from my opponent's field to reserve. That depletes the Burgoyle, and then in response timing, my opponent's going to summon Magna Zapper, which activates when their Jashin leaves the field. Use its ultimate trigger to mill 1 and shoot 2 cores from my trash. And on the next flash timing, continuing the attack with the Mega Zapper, no flash, I'm going to take that life and lose it. And on life, because of the Nexus's level 2 effect, I am going to be able to summon Bantus from hand, because my count is now 10. Passing it back to my turn, it's going to be a core step, draw step, refresh step, and I'm going to just start moving the cores around, trying to figure out what is the best way to do it. I wouldn't be able to immediately hard slam the Bantus, because I don't have any cores in trash to be able to banish for its second effect to be able to summon from the top. So I'm going to go ahead and Evil Draw and pick up a Nouvelle Vogue to use as a blocker, a flash timing blocker, which is going to be able to maintain green on my board for when I do want to ultimate Seryubi. I'm going to summon Burgoyle Heal to gain another core, but to get my trash a bit closer to 5 cores, just to kind of signal to my opponent that they need to burn resources on my green ultimates rather than my Contract Spirit. I'm going to go ahead and attack with my Bantus, use a Nexus to gain a core and a count, stack 1 on top, and choosing to put 2 cores onto the Java to make sure it can't get depleted. Choosing to open 6, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Nothing amazing found off the top, but I do find 3 of the Demon Lords, so no choices to be made there. I'm going to summon all 3. The Burgoyle is not needed. I'm going to distribute some cores over there and pass flash to my opponent, who do they have the 0 counter, and it doesn't look like it, so I'm going to be happy about that. Going to be able to Magna Zapper to ultimate trigger hit. Obviously that hits. I'm now at 13 count. To send 2 cores to trash from their board, including the Soul Core, meaning my opponent can no longer Advent into their Lord Javad for counterplay. They try to activate Magidolas on the life loss, however, Bantus locks out burst effects from the turn, not just burst. So, with that, we are going to continue attacking, and my opponent is then going to Nouvelle Vogue. Nouvelle Vogue is going to be able to gain a core, and unless I have a way of getting rid of it on the board now, there's no way that Seryubi will not come out. Gaining all the cores back that I worked so hard to remove onto the reserve, going to be able to distribute it onto the field, and he distributes it in a very nice way. 3, 3, 3, 3, 3, as well as the 2 extra cores in reserve. So I'm going to use one of my Javad flash timings to move 2 cores off of that Nouvelle Vogue back into the reserve, and we can see his board is now 3, 3, 3 cores. And on my flash thing, I'm going to Advent into Sieg Rudra. Going to be able to fully deplete his entire board, sending 3 from all 5, sending 3 from up to 5 to the reserve, and that is going to fully deplete everything. I don't even want the guy no Hoko to stay, so I'm even in my flash timing here. I'm going to use Nouvelle Vogue from hand, flash, summon it out, gain a core, and because my count is definitely more than 6, exhaust the Brave and send it to the deck bottom, and I'm going to go ahead and try and get in for game with this board. If it wasn't for the fact that on the next life that my opponent loses, they will probably activate that burst wall that we see in hand there. So, going for the next attack, there it is, the Sieg Rudra goes through, and on life, burst wall as well as the Nexus to be able to summon Bramzand from hand. Now at this point, I probably should have gotten my Sieg Rudra destroyed, but I'm too used to playing full ultimates, so I completely missed my mind that Sieg Rudra is a spirit which would have gone and destroyed by Bramzand. Nevertheless, passing it back to our opponent, going to be summoning the Burgoyle. At this point, like, he needs to dig hard, so drawing 2 for the Evil Draw. One of the cards he definitely wants to find is Bantus. Bantus will be able to hopefully dig himself into more copies of Lord Javad, and with that, try and claw momentum back into the game, but luckily for me, I do not believe that that is the case, as he picks up a Magna Zapper instead, just in case I do some more funny shenanigans on his board. One of the major targets on his board that I'm looking at is that Burgoyle. I want to make sure that it doesn't stay on the board on my first flash timing to make sure that he, just in case, cannot make Ultimate Seryubi. So he's going to attack, use a Nexus effect to draw 1, as well as use Burgoyle's effect to rip 2 cores. And because he was willing to do that, I also felt that, oh, he probably has the Seryubi in hand. So I'm going to go ahead and immediately deplete that. Now, on that being left, of course, that brings up the Magna Zapper, gonna ultimate trigger it. Obviously, that hits at this point of the game as well. So that's gonna move 2 cores off of my board as well. Gonna move 1 off of the Rudra and 1 off of the remaining spirit. And in response to all of that, I also have my own Magna Zapper ultimate trigger check. Of course, that hits. We're gonna be able to move 2 cores from my opponent's field to the trash. Gonna hit the Nexus as well as something that is completely irrelevant. But they are going to Advent instead into Lord Javad. And the act of Adventing, they're going to get 2 counts and draw 1. And because they discarded a card, they can draw 2. But because it wasn't a Jashin, they will not be able to move cores on my board. And at this point, I see that there is a chance for me to lose. However, the attacker, being the Burgoyle, is no longer on the field. So I flash timing the Burst Wall. Yes, Bramzan says I cannot end the attack step, but that is while my Jashin is attacking. And without a Jashin attacking, I can go ahead and activate the Burst Wall. So he's going to go ahead and flash the Contract Java to shoot 2 cores, deplete my Ventus, and I believe that will be the end of their turn, and I'm going to go ahead and shoot 1 back just to make sure that we open the board as much as we can. Now, I've got way too much count, so I'm going to go ahead and Evil Draw to try and get a Ventus back into my hand there. But as well as that, I also have Lord Javad. So Lord Javad is going to go ahead and discard to draw me 2 cards, and with that, move 2 cores off of the Bramzan, pay that extra to draw 1, and boom, I got another Death Sitz, which is going to be able to bottom deck his board, open it up, make sure that there's absolutely no way that he can get into Ultimate Seryubi. And with that, we are going to try and go for game. But however, because that is a Spirit Summon effect, he's going to be able to open Badger Dolus. So this was a misplay on my part. I probably should have distributed the cores a bit more efficiently to make sure to play around Badger Dolus, not allow him to get the draw 2. But on my Spirit being left the field, I'm going to go ahead and ultimate trigger, move 2 cores off of the Badger to the trash. Now, with that being said, I also don't really want to deal with any blocker. Funny thing enough, I probably should have just attacked with the Death Sitz because it would have been unblockable anyways for that last bit of damage, but I guess I wanted to ensure that even if somehow my opponent managed to live, they couldn't play. So I go ahead and just Ventus for 1 to find the Bramzan, but they have the 0 counter there. So Bramzan's not going to be able to maintain itself, and now they also have a blocker, as well as the 0 counter that I know in hand. I cannot allow him to block and then flash and the attack step, so I immediately go for Nouvelle Vogue to bot deck the blocker, and with that, that should be the 1 damage I need to get in for game, unless they have a Nouvelle Vogue, and they do not, so that's going to be the 1 damage for game, and we take game 2 as well. Going into Game 3, it's going to be Mega Deck of this year versus Mega Deck of the last era. So, Mega Deck of the last era was Amaterasu, one of the strongest Mega Decks, even had showings as similarly to the Hell Contract Mega Deck that I am playing, where it would dominate shop tournaments. So my opponent opens Amaterasu, the Grand Walker, and finds 3 hits as well as Impregnable Shield, meaning it's going to be hard for me to try and go for a game, but I got to rush Amaterasu down. I cannot let that deck scale up in time. The faster I make my opponent do moves, the less hand they'll have because they're going to be forced to counteract my board as much as possible, and that's my goal here. So I get the 3-card combo between Javad, Burgoyle, and the Nexus, and I'm able to start ramping hard. So doing that, and instead of self-depleting, I said, oh, I gotta go in for game right now before my opponent can do anything. Force him to play his high-costed stuff to counteract me and try and empty my board, play high tempo, rather than go for the Godseekers and Core farm. So we're going to go into Grand Woden's Vi and Dragonic Arthur Rebirth, and that's going to be able to pop my Nexus. Unfortunately, going to get that off the board, but because it only destroys spirits, my ultimates are safe. They're going to pass on that, and core step, draw step back to my turn. I do have 2 ultimate symbols on the board, which allows me to play Evil Draw for 2, as well as pay the 1 extra to get a Jashin card back, being the Nexus. All that hard work for nothing. Going to play the Nexus down, and it looks like, boom, 6 counts. Going to be able to get rid of the Dragonic Arthur off of the board. And we are going to try and go for game this turn, or at least force the Impregnable Shield on the other hand. Going to attack with the Burgoyle, use the effect, gain cores, gain counts, gain draw, gain cores, the flash timing. Gonna bounce the Jabod, which is good timing as well, actually. So bouncing the Java means I'm not able to use its own skill to core shoot myself for a draw cycle. But with that, I'm going to be able to deal 1 damage to the Burgoyle at least, because it is 3 cost, but the Desis does nothing, and I'm going to go ahead and pass it off to my opponent. He sets a burst for a turn, and going to be able to hard summon the Grand Tarasu. So Grand Tarasu, normally you're going to advent it onto something, but hard summoning the Grand Tarasu is still just as scary if you have Amaterasu on the board, and Grand Tarasu, you could accidentally lose to this. I have 2 targets, so I'm going to be able to take 4 damage here. I don't want to deal with that, so I'm going to try and play through this. I'm going to Advent. The active Advent is going to give me 2 counts, drawing 1, and on Advent skill, if nothing, going to discard 1, draw 2. Because I discarded a Jashin, going to be able to move 2 cores to the reserve, which lets me another draw. Passing the flash to my opponent, they are actually going to try and re-maintain as many cores onto the Grand Tarasu as possible, and Shin Coring, using 1 core from Amaterasu to re-Advent into another copy of Grand Tarasu. If they had the Barrage, it would have drawn 2 here, and that would have been really strong. They probably should have core charged there, and from BP comparison, they know that my Jabba is bigger, so they don't want to deal with that. They want to make sure that the Grand Tarasu goes through. So they're going to bounce it back with Impregnable Shield, but I'm going to counteract with Magna Zapper. Ultimate Trigger, going to send 2 cores from the Grand Tarasu to trash, and that is definitely going to lose in battle to the Magna Zapper that I have. Passing it back to my turn, Core Step, Draw Step, Refresh Step. I've got so much count, I've got so much fun to do. Core Step, Draw Step, Refresh Step, summoning Ventus. And just for good measure, I'm going to attack with Ventus there. Gaining the count, using its skill to put something on top deck. And this turn goes hard. I open a bunch, and the very last card that I open is Bromzon. Gonna make sure my opponent cannot summon anything, including that burst, even though Ventus locks a burst out. So that's how I summon it there. Ventus, I've got to go resolve a bunch of core movement, core step, because I advented into Java, which I should have paid the soul core for, to be completely honest. Regardless, it's going to get me a count +2, draw 1, count +2, draw 1. I'm going to use Bromzon's effect to hit myself, count +2, draw 1, and 2 Gyno Hokos from hand to be able to make Ventus a double symbol attacker to go for game. And that's the end of the video. What did you guys think about the deck and how it performed? I went a very clean 3-0. I basically got to show off all of my new technology as well. I'm not sure if I got to show off Bromzon, but basically 2 turns of summon locks, especially against like very slow decks. Now, going through the games again, I think what I would do is I would just maximize the Death Z's, and I would probably turn this and this into a 0 barrier. So I would have 4 different attack step enders, but 2 of them for the mirror match and 2 of them for general matchups as well. I wouldn't be able to play on my opponent's turn with Sig Rudra to pop their Brahmzafag. However, I would just be able to get rid of the Brahmzafag with the 0 barrier anyways, and then try to end the attack step using the 0 barrier in hand now that this is off the board. But in any case, that's all I've got for you guys today in today's video. This is the 3rd and final video for the Mega Deck until the new set comes out, and I might update this, do another set of 3 games to kind of show you guys how it's played. Let me know what you thought about it. Leave a like and a comment down below, and don't forget to subscribe to the channel if you haven't already. If not, why not? Once again, this has been Toku from Yellowcard TCG, and we will see you next time. Bye-bye.